me tell you something powerful today. God is not guessing, God is guiding. You might feel like you've been knocking on doors that just won't open. You've been praying, grinding, and hustling only to face delay, detour, even denial. But here's the truth you need to receive in your spirit today. If the door didn't open, it wasn't your. This simple truth holds more weight than most people realize. Life is full of opportunities, paths, and choices. But not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every path is yours to walk, and not every door you approach is the one God intends for you to enter. We live in a world where hustle and drive are celebrated. And yes, there is a distinct difference between persistence guided by wisdom and persistence fueled by pride or desperation. Many times, we stand in front of closed doors and waste time banging on them, trying to force them open with our own strength. We think if we just work harder, if we just pray louder, if we just push more aggressively, that door will swing open. But what if that closed door is actually God's protection? What if his silence is his mercy? You see, just because a door looks good doesn't mean it leads to something good. And just because a door is closed doesn't mean God said no. It might just mean not yet. Or better still, I've got something better. People get frustrated when things don't go their way. They assume delay means denial, but there's a major difference between rejection and redirection. A closed door can be divine redirection. It's God saying, I know what's behind that door, and it doesn't align with the purpose I've placed inside of you. That job you didn't get, that relationship that fell apart, that opportunity that slipped through your fingers, those weren't mistakes. They were intentional blocks from a God who sees the whole picture. The problem is we often define success by what we can see. If it looks impressive, we assume it must be the right move. If it pays well, we assume it must be our calling. But some of the most dangerous doors in life are the ones that open easily and lead us away from our destiny. You can be seduced by the appearance of success and completely miss the assignment God placed on your life. That's why discernment is more powerful than desire. Because when you have discernment, you don't cry over closed doors. You trust the wisdom of the one who shut them. You were never called to chase every open door. You were called to walk through the right one. And the right door often won't be the most popular, the most lucrative, or the most obvious. The right door will be the one that aligns with your purpose, your principles, and God's promise. And here's the truth. The enemy can open doors too. Just because something is accessible doesn't mean it's ordained. The enemy would love nothing more than for you to walk through a door that distracts you, derails you, or diminishes your potential. Some of you are frustrated because you're watching other people walk through doors while you're still waiting. You think they're ahead, you think you're behind, but God is not late. He's building something in you while you wait. The right door isn't just about what's on the other side. It's about who you become before you walk through it. You're being developed, shaped, and prepared for the magnitude of what God has in store. If the door didn't open, it wasn't yours. It doesn't mean you're not worthy. It means what's yours hasn't arrived yet. Don't let a closed door cause you to question your value. Don't let a missed opportunity convince you you've missed your moment. Timing is everything, and God is the master of timing. A closed door is not a dead end. It's a divine setup for something greater. Worry is worship in reverse. That statement might be uncomfortable at first, but sit with it for a moment. When we worry, we're not just reacting to our circumstances, we're assigning power to them. We're giving more attention to the problem than the promise, more energy to the situation than to the source. Worry isn't just an emotional response. It's a spiritual misalignment. It shifts our focus away from faith and places it on fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And what we focus on grows. What we meditate on magnifies. So when we spend our time worrying, we're actually giving reverence to the worst possible outcomes instead of trusting in the God who holds the outcome in his hands. Worry says, what if it doesn't work? Faith says, Even if it doesn't work how I expect, God is still working. Worry tries to control what was never ours to control. It wants to see the whole staircase before taking the first step. It wants the guarantee before it moves in obedience. But the walk of faith was never meant to be about certainty in circumstances. It's about certainty in the character of God. And the more we worry, the less room we give for God's peace to rule in our hearts. Now, most people don't recognize how subtle worry is. It creeps in through small cracks, financial pressure, delayed answers, silence from heaven, conflict in relationships. It disguises itself as responsibility, as planning, as caution. But what it really is a declaration that we believe the situation is bigger than our Savior. That somehow our stress and anxiety will solve what only God can fix. But no amount of worry has ever moved a mountain. No sleepless night has ever accelerated a breakthrough. All worry does is drain the energy you need to prepare for the door God is opening. If you really trace the root of worry, it comes from one central lie, that God won't show up, that he's forgotten, that he's delayed, that he doesn't care, or worse, that you're not worthy of his intervention. But God is not absent. He's not withholding. He's working behind the scenes in ways you can't yet see. When we choose to worry, we disconnect from that truth. We silence the voice of hope and give the microphone to fear. And make no mistake, fear is a loud liar. It will tell you you're stuck. It will tell you it's too late. It will tell you everyone else is advancing while you're falling behind. But faith whispers something different. I've never left you. I'm still in control. I already know how this ends. It takes intention to reverse the cycle of worry. You have to train your mind to reject anxious thoughts and replace them with truth. That doesn't mean you ignore reality or pretend problems don't exist. It means you look at reality through the lens of God's promise. You speak his word over your circumstances instead of rehearsing the worst case scenario over and over in your head. You worship instead of worry. You elevate him instead of elevating your fear. And that shift in posture changes everything, not because the situation changes immediately, but because you change in it. Your heart can only hold one dominant narrative at a time. Either worry will take the throne or worship will. And whichever one you choose to feed will grow stronger. Worry is rooted in the belief that you have to hold everything together. Worship is rooted in the belief that he already is. One leads to exhaustion, the other leads to peace. And every moment you spend worrying is a moment you could be using to build, to trust, to praise, to prepare. Faith obeys without full visibility. One of the greatest challenges in life is moving forward without knowing exactly where the road leads. Human nature craves certainty. We want the details. We want the plan. We want the guarantee before we take the first step. But real faith doesn't operate that way. Real faith is obedience in the absence of full understanding. It's movement in the face of unanswered questions. It's stepping into the unknown with confidence, not in the path, but in the one who is leading. When God speaks, he often gives direction without giving the destination. Think of Abraham. God told him to leave everything familiar, his home, his family, his country, and go to a land I will show you. Not a location with coordinates, not a road map with stops along the way, just a simple instruction, go. And Abraham obeyed. That's what faith looks like. It's not passive. It's not just believing in your heart. It's trusting God enough to act even when you don't have all the information. The problem of you is that too many people are waiting for clarity before they move. They want the full blueprint before they start building. They want God to explain how everything will work out before they trust him with the next step. But faith doesn't work with blueprints. Faith works with obedience. When God gives a word, he's not asking for your analysis, he's asking for your action. Because obedience is the proof of trust. And trust is not required when you know exactly how things will unfold. It's only required when you don't. Some of the most powerful doors in life only open from the other side. You have to walk toward them by faith before they swing open. You don't see the provision until you move. You don't experience the breakthrough until you obey. And if you're waiting for every question to be answered before you start, you'll spend your life standing still. Faith is forward motion, not because of what you know, but because of who you know. It's not grounded in evidence, it's grounded in relationship. Every act of obedience becomes a seed for your next season, but you don't get to see the harvest before you sow. The results come after the response. Too often, people say they're waiting on God when the truth is God is waiting on them. He already gave the instruction. He already confirmed the calling, but they're still hesitating, still calculating, still asking for one more sign. And every day they delay, they postpone the blessing that's on the other side of obedience. Faith is not reckless, it's radical. It's not about abandoning wisdom. It's about trusting divine wisdom over human reasoning. It's about saying, God, I don't see how this makes sense, but I believe you do. It's about moving forward even when the terrain ahead is foggy because you're confident that God's hand is steady even when your vision is not. And make no mistake, faith will stretch you. It will challenge your comfort. It will confront your control because you can't walk in faith and stay in control at the same time. There's always going to be a gap between the promise and the fulfillment, and in that gap you have a choice. Trust or doubt, move or hesitate, obey or rationalize. And your response in the gap determines your outcome. Faith is the bridge across that gap. It says, I don't need to know everything to trust God with anything. When you respond with that kind of faith, you position yourself for supernatural outcomes that logic alone could never achieve. You release the power of heaven into your situation, not because you saw it all coming, but because you obeyed anyway. Prepare while you wait, your door will open fast. There's a dangerous mindset that many people fall into during seasons of waiting. It's the idea that waiting means doing nothing, that delay equals inactivity, and that because the breakthrough hasn't come yet, there's no point in getting ready. But waiting is not wasted time when you understand its purpose. In fact, waiting seasons are often the most important seasons of preparation. They are the proving ground of your faith discipline and readiness. You don't wait to prepare, you prepare while you wait. Because when the door opens, it won't wait for you to get ready. Opportunity does not slow down to match your pace. When God moves, he moves with momentum. What he has planned for you may come faster than you expect, but it will not come slower just because you weren't ready. That's why preparation is not optional, it's essential. The work you put in during your quiet season will determine how well you can handle the noise of success. The habits you build in private will sustain you in public. The discipline you develop behind the scenes will support you when the spotlight hits. Preparation is an act of faith. It's a declaration that you believe the promise is coming, even if you don't see it yet. Think of a farmer who plants seeds. He doesn't see results the next day, but he still waters, still tends, still works the land. Why? Because he trusts the process. He understands that just because the seed is invisible doesn't mean it's inactive. It's growing beneath the surface. And so he prepares for the harvest long before it arrives. That's how faith works. You act like it's coming because you believe that it is. Too many people are praying for a door to open but doing nothing to prepare for what's on the other side. They want the job but haven't sharpened the skill. They want the platform but haven't built the character. They want the relationship but haven't done the inner healing. God is not going to open a door that will crush you under the weight of your own unpreparedness. He's too wise to give you something you can't handle. That's why the waiting season is often a refining season. It's not punishment, it's preparation. When you prepare in faith, you start walking like the door is already open. You study like the opportunity is already confirmed. You train like the promotion is already yours. You serve like the stage is already set. That kind of mindset attracts favor. It tells heaven you're serious. It shows God you're not just asking, you're aligning. Because faith without works is dead and belief without preparation is empty. Preparation doesn't always feel exciting. It's repetitive. It's quiet. It doesn't come with applause. But those who succeed in the open doors are the ones who respected the preparation behind closed ones. You have to be okay with working while unseen, improving while unnoticed, and growing without validation, because when the moment comes, and it will, You won't have time to build the foundation. You'll need to stand on the one you've already laid. There is a kind of readiness that draws breakthrough, a kind of excellence that signals to heaven that you're not just hoping, you're ready. The door you've been waiting for may open when you least expect it. There may not be time to rehearse your response. That's why you prepare now, before the spotlight, before the call, before the breakthrough. Because when it comes, it will come fast. And your preparation will be the difference between missing the moment and maximizing it. Don't force closed doors. Trust God's timing. There's a natural tendency in all of us to want things to happen when we want them to happen. We set goals, timelines, and expectations. And when life doesn't line up with our schedule, we start trying to force outcomes. We push harder. We get frustrated. We knock louder on doors that have already been shut, convinced that more effort or more persistence will change the outcome. But what we fail to realize in those moments is that closed doors are not always setbacks. Often, they are divine signals that this is not the right place, not the right time, or not the right path. Trying to force open what God has shut is a recipe for exhaustion. It leads to striving instead of surrender. It causes you to invest energy in what was never meant to be yours. And even if you manage to pry open a door by force, what's on the other side may not be prepared for you, or worse, you may not be prepared for it. That's the danger in trying to rush God's process. You might step into something prematurely and end up overwhelmed, underqualified, or spiritually unprotected. God's timing is not just about delay, it's about development. He sees the full picture, not just the moment you're in. He knows what you need to grow, what you need to learn, and what you need to leave behind before you walk into the next level. A closed door is often his way of giving you space to mature, to align your character with your calling, to break unhealthy patterns, and to build the resilience necessary for what's coming. It's not rejection, it's preparation. There's a difference between persistence and force. Persistence is rooted in faith. Force is rooted in fear. Persistence says, I believe the right door will open when the time is right. Force says, if I don't make this happen now, it will never happen. That mindset comes from scarcity, not trust. It reveals a deeper issue, believing that God may not come through, that his plan might not be as good as your plan, or that if you don't step in and manipulate the outcome, you'll miss your moment. But trust says, I don't need to open every door. I only need the door that was designed for me. When you trust God's timing, you release the need to compete and compare. You stop looking at who's ahead of you and start focusing on being faithful where you are. Someone else's open door isn't a threat to your future. It's just their time. And when it's your time, no one will be able to stop what God has set in motion. That's why patience is not passive, it's powerful. It's a sign of confidence in a God who knows exactly when to move and how to do it better than you ever could. Trusting God's timing also means being willing to walk away from things that look good on the outside but carry no peace on the inside. Every open door isn't a blessing. Some are distractions, some are detours, some are tests. Discernment will help you recognize the difference, but trust will give you the courage to walk away from what's not meant for you. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because it's available doesn't mean it's ordained. Closed doors teach you how to surrender. They remind you that God is the one writing your story, not you. They shape your faith not just in what God can do, but in when he chooses to do it. There is strength in waiting, in trusting and believing that when it is time, God won't need your help forcing a thing. He'll open the door himself and it will be right, complete, and perfectly aligned with everything he's prepared you for.